Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this rainy morning. We have Dave in Osaka with us, and we first wanted to introduce our kitties because Dave adopted one of our rescue kitties from our deck. And this is Garrett, and he's escaping. But I have a photo. Let's show. Good morning, Dave. Thanks for joining.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm setting up here and I'm trying to get the cat to. Oh, here he is. I got him.
Oh, you got him?
Here we go.
Hey,
Oh,
there's Bo. Hello, Bo.
I'm trying.
Hello.
Where's mommy? Your mommy. Your first mommy.
Bo. He
All right,
was
let him go. He's gonna run away.
he was the smallest. These are my two. I couldn't catch him. That's Lonnie and Garrett, and we called what you called Bo. We called him Fluffy because he was the fluffiest.
Yeah, he got fluffy again.
And this is a picture you sent me of Bo and his big brother now with
Yeah,
you, right?
yeah, that's right.
That's so cute. And he likes his little tower. I've got a picture of him here in his tower.
He hides in the tower.
Yeah. And that was so lovely that you could come and get Bo and adopt him, and he's part of your family now. So that was a nice way to introduce Dave. That's my connection with Dave, and of course I follow him on Periscope and YouTube, and you've got a great following, and you're doing so much to introduce authentic, real Japan. What is Japan actually like? Not the glossy travel brochure version, but you're showing what it's really like through your live streaming. So thank you so much for joining
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
and for all the work that you do. Do you want to give a brief introduction of yourself or what you do?
Okay. Well, I do live streaming. I've been doing it for the past 5 years on Twitter. Twitter has a separate app for live streaming called Periscope, and I started there in 2015, and I've been broadcasting mostly about Japan. But I also do travel, and when I travel elsewhere too, I show other cultures too. Thailand, Myanmar. I'm usually in Southeast Asia on my holidays, and also in the summer times I'll go back to Canada. And the last time I was in Greenland when I was in Canada. So.
Yeah, we have some pictures of the icebergs that you showed. It looks like you've been on YouTube since 2014. Is that right?
Yes, but I didn't really start um, uploading anything until after I was on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I was just mainly a viewer. And
Mm-hmm.
then after I had some content there and I was saving content, then I would upload it sometimes. So,
Yeah, you have a great following. We should do it more live stream style. So whenever we have someone saying hi, we will add you to the screen today. Paula, thank you for joining. She says hi, Dave,
hey, Cheryl. Hey, Paula. Hey,
and
Nick.
she's
I'm watching on the other
she's
screen here. So.
commenting on the cat. He's beautiful. I think you're commenting on the cat. Maybe you're commenting on Dave. All right, let's start with the internet cafe because this is one of those authentic experiences in Japan. And recently it's been in the news because they closed internet cafes and
That's right. Yeah.
they found that a lot of homeless people
That's right. Yeah.
had been using it as like a temporary housing. So
Because it's cheap.
it put people on the streets. So internet cafes have a great function in
Hmm.
Japanese society, kind of supporting the community. Do you want to introduce this video a little bit?
I took this many years ago.
Okay.
Wow, this probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago. This was at the beginning when I was just exploring live streaming and I just wanted to film everything and I had no fear. Now I'm more reluctant to go anywhere like that,
Uh-huh.
so I probably wouldn't do it again. But it was, I think it's a really interesting, unique part of Japanese culture, these internet cafes where people go. I guess, people live in close quarters here, maybe with their family too. So a lot of young people use that as their personal space to even like with their girlfriend, they'll rent the little cubicles, they'll hang out there overnight. It's also very cheap. You can stay overnight for about $10 or so. They have the overnight packages, so
And
people use it for that.
I think in this one you were introducing they had showers,
Yeah.
You know,
They
people,
have a tanning bed.
right?
They have a tanning bed in it.
And cubicles where they have computers and people sleep in there. Sometimes it's not really beds, but they're comfortable chairs, right?
The mats, yeah. Some of them
Yeah.
have the tatami, well, not the tatami, but the mat kind of things.
Hmm.
There's all the you can see the comics lining the walls there. They have food, drinks, and so you can basically live there pretty comfortably for a very reasonable price.
Right. Because a lot of the homeless in Japan, people displaced and for some reason don't have their own house, they are working. They're
Yeah,
they're working every day. So to have a facility like this where they can shower, where they can get some rest, where they can read and buy some snacks is really a great, it's kind of a community support as well. So that was really interesting to me how that became an issue when coronavirus happened and people were displaced because these were closed, right?
right. Yeah, yeah.
Lorena says hi, and
Hi.
Drone Flyer Nick says hey Dave, and Tim says hello. Thank you everybody on Periscope for joining. You have an active Periscope crowd.
Yeah.
Let's go next to one of the things that I remember interacting with you about is the
Hmm.
Hard Rock Cafe in
Okay.
Kyoto.
Yeah.
Can you introduce that visit a little bit?
So they in Kyoto they reformed one of the old machiya, which is a traditional Japanese townhouse, wooden townhouse. They reformed it, renewed it, and they put a Hard Rock inside of it. And I think it's a really great spot, and it again it fits with the theme of sustainability. Uh, I think it respects the surroundings rather than tearing down some building and building up a new one in the middle of the city, which is what they usually do. They respected the surroundings by putting it in this old townhouse in it.
Yeah,
And I also
mm-hmm,
spoke to the manager.
mm-hmm.
He mailed me. I don't know if he mailed you also. Did
He
he speak to you?
did. Yeah, I was
Okay.
in touch with them too. Yeah.
And he said how difficult it was,
Mm-hmm.
all the things he had to do to get it done. It was very difficult. So they put a lot of effort into to making it happen too, which shows a commitment to the uh, to the neighborhood, right, in the area, and capturing
Definitely.
that spirit. Yeah. So
Definitely. And I had some interaction with him. I was planning to go and talk to him and see it myself. I never had the opportunity. So I really appreciate that you had been there live streaming and have so much great video and information from it. The idea of using an existing building which has heritage and culture and you're
mhm,
preserving that, it's like you said, it was more expensive, it took more time to do, but in
yeah.
the end, it's better for the company too, because they have this unique building that you will never find in a Hard Rock Cafe anywhere else in the world, right?
No, no, exactly. And I think it also shows the locals too that you respect the culture, because now there's kind of a backlash against all these hotels going up, buildings being torn down and built up to house all these tourists. And you even see banners now in downtown Kyoto. We are against the destruction of Kyoto City. So this kind of appeases them,
Definitely.
appeals to them to show that we also are against that too and want to preserve it as much as possible.
Yeah, it's so important. And especially in terms of over tourism, Kyoto is one of the places that
So
has too many tourists. And sorry, the coronavirus has been a great thing for them because they suddenly had a break from
yeah,
having to deal with throngs and throngs of tourists all over. I think we were talking before we started. I had done a video about over tourism, and of course, Kyoto is one of the big targets because it was in the news a lot when I did that video, and
okay,
I had some ideas. Mainly, you should stop the buses, because the buses
okay,
will bring people right to the center area and drop hundreds of people at
I
one
see.
time. So there's no staggering.
Okay,
So that's one
do you
of
mean city buses or tour buses?
tour buses.
Okay,
So one of my ideas was you have to preserve the quality of life for local people. And that means you cannot clog the streets with tour buses. You cannot drop hundreds of people at one time in these old classic areas. And now because of coronavirus, we don't see tour buses. We're not seeing inbound tourism. And Kyoto
Nothing.
has enough domestic tourism anyway, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it gives Kyoto a break. Maybe locals will stay
Yes.
longer because a lot of locals were moving out because
Yeah.
they were so upset by losing quality of life, right?
Well, that's one thing I wanted to ask. This is not so much an interview, but a back and forth
No,
more.
no, yeah, that's
So,
good.
so you made a GJ has a great video about over tourism on YouTube, and I recommend people watch it. And one of the points you made was about how people move out and the tourists stay, and it's very different because the tourists don't really aren't there to develop the community. They're just about, enjoying and leaving, and it destroys it. So can you talk about that?
Sure,
Can you
yeah.
elaborate on that?
No, no, for sure. I grew up in Hawaii. And
Okay.
so Hawaii is so dependent on tourism. And there's a big argument about this in Hawaii because Hawaii people pay taxes higher than any other state. The cost of food is more expensive. And I
Okay.
think Kyoto people are very similar. They're paying taxes for
Yeah.
garbage disposal, for water, for all the public services. And the
Hmm.
tourists are coming in and using all those services as part of
That's
tourism.
right. Yeah.
And so it makes it harder for locals to appreciate their tax dollars, so to speak, you know? And it seems really unfair. So a lot of locals, like you said, were moving out. And then the tourists were there. There were more tourists than locals. And then outside companies started coming in and taking over some of the places, knocking down old buildings, making new hotels. And there weren't enough rules to protect the local buildings, the local people, to stop that from happening. So, it needs to come from the top. The rules need to happen, but it
Yeah.
also needs to come from the bottom. And locals
Okay.
need to organize and say, listen, we need this support, you know? And then if you have rules and you have people speaking out, then you'll have a better situation and tourism and business will be more in balance. That's the whole
I see.
idea about sustainability, right? You want to balance people, planet, and profits. Profits
Okay.
important, but you got to have it in balance, right?
Yeah. There's a major imbalance now. That's
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Let's look at another similar place. You went to the Kyoto Starbucks.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah. The same, similar situation with the Hard Rock, and I think they even more. I mean, Hard Rock is a beautiful building, but they kept it looking old. The original, I don't know if it was the original wood, but it looks old, and then it blends with the other structures on that street, Ninenzaka, which is a huge tourist street there. So yeah, it was really beautiful. And in contrast to that, and behind it, there's a new Park Hyatt hotel, which is brand spanking new and really shiny. And I don't know, it kind of has some elements of the architecture, but I'm not sure if it really blends in as much. But the Starbucks cafe really did a great job of, and even in the interior, like kind of the motifs of the window, the circular window with the bamboo going across, it completely preserved what probably the original building was like, and again respected the culture and the different motifs you see in Kyoto. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the interior shots right now and the circular window, the bamboo, the sliding doors all along the
Yeah.
tatami, the rush mat flooring. It's just
Interior
gorgeous.
garden too. They have a
Yeah,
garden in the back.
really,
Yeah.
really beautiful. Let's keep going. Yeah, the garden. I think I've got the
And we're able to
garden.
enjoy it because of the situation now. Normally it would be jam packed. There's a huge lineup coming out the door. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Were they doing social distancing? Like, were they asking people to space out?
Yes, there were marks on the floor, and there weren't that many people when I did visit because I think it was still within the when the emergency declaration was still going on. So, but
Anna says, hi from Toronto. Thank you for joining, Anna.
hi, Anna.
Yeah, so it's gorgeous inside and out. I mean, outside it doesn't really look that different from any of the houses along that street, but
No, yeah, it blends right in.
that's the idea, right?
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
to have it blend in. I couldn't find my photos, but I visited a Starbucks in Kobe, which
Oh yeah,
was built in a historical building as well.
yeah,
And
that's right.
that gave me so much more respect for Starbucks. I think there's of course, a lot of problems with fair trade and, are
Hmm.
they taking care of the growers and are they charging too much for coffee? And there's a lot of negativity about a
Yes.
massive coffee company. But when I see them reusing these heritage buildings, I was like, yes, thank you, because it's so easy to just knock it down and make one of their generic buildings, right?
Yeah, that was one of the first ones I'd ever seen that they preserved the building. Other than that, it was most of them are pretty standard Starbucks, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a beautiful one, really nice one.
Yeah, really nice. And the prices are the same, are they?
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Uh,
standard menu? Did they have anything different on the menu?
I can't recall. You know what? They didn't have that much in stock because of the situation.
Right, yeah.
They, I think they only had drinks and a few other things. So there was nothing in the refrigerator, none of the desserts or anything like that, because
Mm.
things moving around, I guess. So
Sharon says, hi, Dave and JJ. We'll be watching on YouTube. Nice, Sharon. Thanks for joining.
Aaron, how's it going? Hi everybody. Hi Melly, how's it going? Who else is here? Please,
Uh,
hello. Hey.
yeah, it's nice to say hi to everybody. That's live stream style. You do that so well, Dave. When I watch your live streams, I'm like, how does he keep his train of thought? Because you're always answering people's questions and everything as well.
I used to do actually. I don't think I read that much anymore. I used to. I think when it was new to me, the fact that I could interact with people live was just so I don't know, it was really kind of shocking. And these are real these are real people watching and all these comments are coming. I was really appreciative that somebody would actually come in and take the time to comment. So I read every comment. I was much better at it then. Now I've kind of gotten tired, a little bit tired of reading. I'm getting older too, and
Well, I
it
I
gets
find
harder to
it
keep up.
I find it hard because I need glasses to read, right?
Okay.
And so if you're outside and the glare
Oh
is
yeah, it's
is
awful.
really tough. So I don't
Yeah.
know how people do it. Like some people will live stream as they're cycling around town.
Yeah.
It's like, how do they do that and not crash?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I couldn't read comments for sure if I was right.
Anna is saying, "Where are you?" So
I'm in Osaka.
Dave is in Osaka and I'm in Hiroshima. We're both in Japan. All right, let's go to the next one I wanted to talk about. You covered the Black Lives Matter protest.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Do you want to introduce that a little bit?
So that was on Sunday. There was a Black Lives Matter march in Osaka. It was organized fairly quickly. Only last week, earlier in the week, someone mentioned that they were going to start a march, and they had to get permission from police. They started a Facebook group, and by the end of the week, they had about 1,000 people in the Facebook page, and they had confirmed a march. So they did it in downtown Osaka. We started in the center of the city. It was about a 2 kilometer march. They ended up having 2,000 people. It was a very peaceful march. The police were great too. Uh, we had a cruiser in the front. It wasn't that big of a police presence too. It wasn't like there was a fear of something going to happen. And it was a beautiful day. It was a great day, a great event, and I think a good example for the rest of the world how to have a uh, peaceful protest. So
Yeah, it looked like there was a very diverse crowd, like a very international, diverse group of people. And people were mostly chanting in English, Black Lives Matter. And
yes,
most of the signs I saw were in English and Japanese, but there
yeah,
were other signs in Spanish as well. I caught glimpses of. And they did, like you said, organized march through the city streets and protected by the police. And I wanted to mention how impressed I am when I see a lot of protests in Japan. In Hiroshima, we see protests and marches every August, right? For
Yeah, right.
Hiroshima Day, August
Right.
6th,
Yeah.
in memory of what happened in Hiroshima. And the police are always acting as a buffer
Okay.
between the protesters and the usually right wing that come
Oh,
and
okay.
are a bit scary, yelling at people. But the police know how to handle crowds and very peaceful, very organized. So yeah, I've always been very impressed. And I was so glad to see that you covered this because it's so important to show the world that we have
Yeah.
people in Japan who really care about the
Hmm.
Black Lives Matter movement.
Um, yeah, there was about maybe 70-60% foreigners, and the rest were Japanese, maybe 30 or 40%. Yeah, I thought it was important to show it. I never do politics, and I'm always reluctant to because I know it's a very divisive issue,
Hmm.
especially with the state of things now. So, but I didn't. I mean, I'm anti-racist. That's my stance, and a lot of people interpret this event and what it stands for in different ways. If you saw the comments on YouTube, they're mixed, very very divided,
Hmm.
and I think that's very unfortunate. I think they're interpreting it the wrong way,
Yep.
and um, it's a totally peaceful event, and when we showed that too, I think there was a lot of fear that it wasn't going to be,
Hmm.
but it was totally fine and exactly what it should be. So
Yeah. And I think that that is exactly the right way to say it. You're anti-racist and you're pro-equality, and you wanted to show people speaking out and trying to use their freedom of speech. And that's wonderful that that's happening in Japan, in Tokyo, as well as in Osaka. We haven't seen any organization of protests or rallies in Hiroshima yet, but I'm hoping we will, and I'll try
I
to.
heard I heard that Fukuoka will be doing one, is organizing one, and Kyoto is coming up also. So
Mhm. Anna says downtown of Toronto had a protest as well.
oh,
Yeah.
did they really? Yeah.
It's amazing, you see it on the news that they had protests, Black Lives Matter protests all over the world. And
Hmm.
it's really an issue that everybody is speaking out about all over the world. And I think it's made very positive changes for sure. Even at my kids' school here in Japan, they're at like an international school for high school,
Okay.
and they
Okay.
started studying Black history because
Oh,
of the
great.
protests in
Oh,
English
that's
class.
right.
So that's
That's how you do it.
really positive. There are some positive effects happening finally. So the protests are working. Want to support
Good.
it.
Great.
Let's go to the next one. Your most popular ones are covering the geisha or the
Yes.
maiko in Kyoto. Do you want to introduce some of your work there?
So, well, I I've been doing that for quite a long time. I've been here for almost 20 years, and I often go to Kyoto because it's so close. And I used to do that all the time. I used to take photos of the geisha walking through the the streets and beautiful backdrop of Gion, and there weren't that many people back then. And then live streaming came along, and I was like, why don't I turn the camera on and see what happens? And people loved it, and they went, it's on YouTube. It's amazing the response I got, both negative and positive. I think it's a bit of a divisive issue, and uh, a lot of people. It seems like maybe twice as many people love it than people who hate it. And there's people around the world saying, I'm never going to come to Japan. I love geisha, and to be able to see them live walking through the streets is just amazing. I know a gentleman who watches it with his daughter. Me and my daughter watch every time we broadcast. We love it. So a lot of people who follow the geisha, and they know every geisha's name. They know all the geisha houses. They know every single one of them. They watch my video to keep track of that. They keep track of who's active, who isn't. A lot of them are, some of the ones that I miss are in plain clothes walking through, and they even can spot those. So they're saying, you know, this is great that you document this, and we can see who's around and who isn't around anymore. And so yeah, I kept on going, and despite a lot of negative comments, also like I was invading their privacy, getting in their way. Although I wasn't trying to do that. I would often document people getting in their way. I would also criticize tourists who were jumping in front of them or crowd swarming them. I'm not for that. That goes with the whole over tourism point also. And then recently they banned photography in Gion. I think it was more because of tourists and the number of people just stopping, and the human traffic where it was just ridiculous, getting in the way of cars that still can drive by there for some reason. They stopped the filming, but that's only in that area. It didn't mean all of Kyoto. There are other geisha. There's 5 geisha neighborhoods, and the other ones they didn't ban it. So it was only because people were taking up space, people were stopping the human traffic, and that was the main thing behind it. But it got a huge response, and people loved it. And yeah, I I love the geisha culture too. I read a lot about it, and so I enjoyed that too, and that's why I did it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The pictures I'm showing now are, you must have paid to be inside to watch the performance. So it's
Yes,
not just watching them on the street. It's when they're going in between places. This is a
right.
paid experience which supports their work and their training and everything.
Yes.
And could you tell us a little bit about this experience? Like, how much was
Well,
it, or was it
sure. Well,
was it dinner
this
as
is
well?
yeah. You can have the option of buying dinner. The interesting thing about this is organized by the most famous geisha photographer in the world, who also began just as I did by taking photographs of the geisha on the street. He
Mm-hmm.
has now made it his work. So the same things that people are criticizing people about taking pictures of the geisha, this gentleman also made his career from doing that, geisha spotting. He was the first geisha spotter. So he's a very well respected person in the community, and he organizes these geisha photography events. Uh, this was a New Year's one. This is why they're wearing the black kimono um, for special occasions. And yeah, he does usually buy seasonally. So in the fall leaves, the sakura, and in the summertime they'll wear no makeup and just the yukata. So,
Mm.
and he has a great connection with the different okia, and he chooses fantastic spots, and it's a great experience. Yeah, it's worth.
Wow, great. And the thing I love about this performance, I'm going to talk to Paprika Girl tomorrow morning at
Oh,
9 a.m. And she has so many insights on kimono and yukata and all the hidden secrets of that world. So I hope she'll watch this and comment on this as well, because these kimono are so beautiful.
yeah.
And the way that they display the kimono by their movements, so you
Hmm.
can see the different patterns and motifs as they move, and their makeup and their hair and all the details. It's just gorgeous. And it is an important part of Japanese culture that is well respected and admired around the world. And it has connections to fashion. Of course, this is something that we want to preserve. So
Yeah.
it's so wonderful that you were able to capture this and share it with the world. And it's not only part of tourism, it's part of branding for Japan as a
Yes.
destination, or as a trade partner. I mean, it has much bigger impact than just one show in Kyoto if you visit, right? It's much bigger than
Yes,
that. I
absolutely.
love her expressions as she's posing, and everything is so timed and so on purpose, purposeful, right?
Yeah.
But yet I was surprised at how their movements are unique. I expected, I've never seen one before, so I expected that their movements would be synchronized. But their
Okay.
movements were all unique. At the very beginning, very end was synchronized, but in the middle, it was like they were freestyling.
Yeah. There's another one I did at in there was five of the Michael, and it was such a beautiful sight. Just like you said, five of them all kind of freestyling, doing their own movements. It was just amazing. It was like I don't know where to look
Yeah.
because everybody was doing their own thing. It was really, really, really beautiful.
Well, you captured it beautifully. Can I ask you what kind of camera you were using, or because it was video,
Uh,
right?
I think it was just the iPhone.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Do you mean these photos?
Yeah.
Are these my photos or the
These
video? I don't even
this
know.
is from your video, so this is my screenshots of your video.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I use my iPhone to broadcast.
Oh
That's
my
it.
gosh.
Yeah, yeah. It was iPhone at that time. I don't even know if I had a 10.
You must have a good carrier because your live streaming is so clear where it's not glitchy. You must have
Okay.
a good connection. Did they
A
have
lot of people
Wi-Fi?
say that.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Wi-Fi. It was SoftBank. Yeah, I use
Wow.
SoftBank. So
Very
free
good.
advertising.
Yeah, free advertising. SoftBank does some good work. We don't mind advertising them.
Okay, I'll
Mary
take.
says hi.
Hi,
Hi,
mom.
Mary.
That's my
Thanks for
mom.
joining. Is that your mom?
My mom. It's my mom.
Hi,
Yeah.
Mama. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so here in this picture shown on the left, their movements look synchronized, but this was one of the few times that they were actually doing similar movement.
Okay.
And then the next photo, it looks like she's flying like a crane, and then the
Yeah.
the other
Actually, that's
dancers were doing different movements. I grew up in Hawaii, so it reminds me of hula.
that's. Yeah. Right. That's
It's
true. Yeah.
very slow. It's very gentle. Beautiful movements. I loved it. I hope I can see it in person someday, but until then, I'll just enjoy watching your videos. Thank you.
The unfortunate thing, filming it, I don't really get to enjoy it as
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
I'm documenting it, so I'm worried about the camera, just keeping it and reading comment. Well, I wasn't reading so much then, but
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not really there. I'm filming it, so sometimes I should just kind of put the camera away and just watch them.
No, yeah. I did think that because part of the video, you can see all the photographers right up there at the front. And
Right.
I thought, oh, it'd be kind of nice if they banned the cameras, but then I wouldn't be able to enjoy it.
That's the purpose. Yeah, man. A lot of people, the comments on the video are like, "Can you get rid of those clicking of the camera?" And I was like, "But they're there. They paid to be there.
Yeah.
There's more of them than me." So
Yeah.
there's only a couple people filming it. So
Cheryl has a nice comment now. Thank you, Cheryl. In addition to beautiful videos and pictures, Dave educated his viewers on the life and history of geisha.
thanks, Cheryl. Cheryl is a dedicated viewer. She's watched me all the time. Yeah.
Can you
Thank you, Cheryl.
give us some insights into their world, the geisha world? Can you remember anything?
What was the name? There was, um, it started in on the riverbank. There was I can't remember her name. No, that's terrible. I don't remember her name. She would perform on there was one the first person who performed on a riverbank, and she was because she was female. It was very unusual that what was she wearing? She was using a sword, and females were not allowed to hold a sword or something like in her dance. And I think she also had a crucifix around her neck, and Catholicism was banned at the time. So she was trying to attract as many people to watch her, and I think it evolved from there. She was the first. Well, it wasn't really a geisha, but it evolved from there. And I'm trying to think. Well, you kind of put me on the spot here,
No, no,
but
sorry. Yeah. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
remember, if you happen to remember, it's a really fascinating, interesting history of the geisha and the maiko, and it's a lot of it is a hidden world or a secret world. And so there hasn't been that much written about it because a lot of it is kept secret. That's part of the intrigue, right? Um,
yeah. Another thing is there's Yasaka Jinja right in downtown Kyoto, and I guess when worshippers would come to Yasaka Jinja, they would stay at the inns around the temple. There's a lot of inns developed there because worshippers would come from other parts of the country. And there's places that they would eat and have tea. And to entertain them, these these girls would dance with them. And then that is where it evolved from that also.
And I'm really interested in performing arts in Japan. Of course, most people are. So to see that all the cast, so to speak, all the actors are female, and the musicians are female. You know, like Kagura, all the cast are male, and the
Yeah,
musicians are usually male. Or No Theater, all male. Or, you know, so many different kinds of performing arts, which are mostly male.
male,
So
right.
this might be one of the only performing arts that you'll see traditional Japan, and it's all female.
Yeah, right.
So in that way, you know, whether you agree with them being taken advantage of, or, you know, there's lots of negativity in the history and in practice now even, but
Hmm.
there is that positive element of they are in control of this genre of
Yeah,
entertainment, right? So
absolutely. Yeah. I think actually, in even in the beginning of the history of the geisha performance, some of them were male. There were males in it. Yeah,
mm,
but now it's all female. Absolutely all female.
yeah, beautiful. Let's go to one of the beautiful parks that you covered on your YouTube. Let me see if I can
Okay.
get. First, the Nagoro dolls.
Oh yeah, that was that was great.
Just a couple photos from that trip. You want to introduce that visit?
So there's a village. I think it's quite famous now. It's been in CNN, New York Times, on TV in Tokushima, which is a prefecture on Kochi Island, a little island off of Honshu, and in the
Shikoku.
mountains of
Shikoku Island.
Shikoku. Sorry,
That's all right.
in Tokushima Prefecture, way up in the mountains, is this Nagoro village, and there was recently in Japan because of uh, people are moving to cities and the population is getting older. Towns like this in the mountains, the population is going down very quickly, and it's dying off. So this lady decided to repopulate the village with dolls. So she made these scarecrow dolls and placed them throughout the city, throughout the town. Even placed them in the school. There's a small elementary school that closed down. She she put them there in the classroom. You can see in that picture there, and it's become a pretty popular tourist spot. It's hard to get to, but it's
Mm.
definitely worth it making the trip there. It's a beautiful, beautiful space.
Yeah, we have.
She's a very friendly lady too.
That's awesome. And I like that you were in the tea house having some mochi and talking to
That was her
locals.
house. That
Oh,
was her
that's
house.
her house.
That was her house. Yeah. There's nothing there. There's no stores, nothing. There used to be. There's some like it's kind of like a ghost town walking through it. But yeah, those are. She just invited me in. I was like, I have no food. I'm stuck here until 4:30 because that's the last
The
bus.
last bus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's only two, or so I was like, I have no food. She's like, oh, well, come on, come in. I
Oh,
wasn't begging to or anything. She just said, here, have this. I'm like,
that's
okay,
lovely. There in Hiroshima as well. We have a onsen area called Yuki Onsen,
okay, yeah, you
and
did that also, yeah,
right next to Yuki, there's another town like this where the population has gone away. And so they started making dolls and putting dolls everywhere. And we actually stayed overnight. And if you
okay.
go around at night with your flashlight, meeting all of the locals, that's pretty crazy.
That's scary. Yeah, I thought about being there at night. It would be kind of frightening. But that's
Yeah.
great if it brings people. If it brings people to the area, why not? They should do it throughout the country.
Yeah, for sure. The one problem though for the Yuki area, they used to have a cafe, but there were no services whatsoever. So you're lucky you got something to eat and drink because that's often a problem. Like when there's no
Yeah,
population, there's no
right.
shops as well.
Were
Um,
you the place where you stayed though? There was obviously
oh
something
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there.
We had
Yeah,
it was self-catered.
but
So
just going outside,
yeah,
there's nothing.
if they have a place where you can rent and stay, like an Airbnb or something, that's perfect. Because then you can drive. If you drive, it's easier. Or take the bus,
Right.
bring your own stuff. Then
Yeah.
it's a bit easier.
I need a car right now. Yeah.
Well, maybe I did Seeking Sustainability live with Tesla Quest Japan. He's in Kansai.
Oh,
Maybe,
really? Yeah. You bought the
maybe,
car here, didn't you? You bought
yeah,
the car in
yeah.
Osaka. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well,
maybe you guys can collaborate. You can go on some
yeah.
trips together.
That'd be a good idea. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Nanzen Temple in Kyoto.
Okay.
Can you?
That was last week. Was that the one
I
last
think
week?
so. Yeah.
Well, I think that one was mostly about that there was nobody there. This whole situation where usually that temple would be overrun with people, not much room to move around, not very peaceful. But now with nobody there and the emergency declaration just being lifted, people are still hesitant to go out, and it's just a beautiful time to go through that temple. Nanzenji has several buildings. This is just the open area where people are free to walk, and then around it, there's several small gardens that you can pay to go into, and even the area around it. There's a big mountain area at the back too, where people rarely go to. There's an aqueduct, and behind it, up in the mountain, you can hike up there. Just a huge sprawling temple, a really beautiful place to wander around, and
Yeah.
especially now.
Yeah. It's awesome to take advantage of being able to go to places that are usually overrun and enjoy the peace and quiet of it because that's how
Yeah,
it was originally intended, right?
exactly. That's how
Yeah.
that's why I fell in love with being here when I first moved here. I mean, it was mostly domestic tourists during Golden Week and maybe weekends a little bit, but it wasn't that bad. You could have the privacy of you can have the temple to yourself, or not many people around bothering you. But now it's more, well, now it's okay, but normally before this situation, it was impossible.
I found some interesting sustainability features of the aqueduct.
Okay.
It was started in the 1800s so that they could connect the people of Kyoto with Lake Biwa.
Yeah, that's right. They put those together.
And then by moving the water, they created electricity. So it was one
Okay.
of the first hydroelectric plants. And they also had a filter station. So even now it's used for drinking water in Kyoto. And I thought that
Oh,
was really interesting.
I didn't know that
Yeah. So
that's what it was for.
yeah, it's beautiful. Even just looking at it, it's beautiful. But to realize that it's still being used now, and it was a great early way in the 1800s to create clean energy. That's
Hmm.
that's very innovative for that
Yeah.
time, for sure. You also went to the pond and saw the lotus blossoms and the koi and turtles. It's so cute.
Oh, that was one of the gardens off the side, and that's the probably one of my favorite gardens in Kyoto. Very small one, but beautiful place. Yeah.
Did you see the Zen garden, the rock garden there, the Hojo?
No,
No.
I didn't. But there is a small one in the same video there. There's in the front there's the rock garden,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the back there's the pond with the turtles. But there, yeah, that one is at the. I didn't go there. Yeah, that's a beautiful one too. Yeah.
I'm showing the picture from your video of the garden that you went into. So you paid to go into the garden, and
Yeah.
that's where you saw the pond and the koi as well, right?
Hmm.
But I was interested to see that inside one of the buildings, maybe you went in. Did you see any of the sliding doors that had paintings on them?
In that particular garden, I don't believe I did. I didn't see. No. Is there a famous one there in
Yeah,
that one section? Tenjuan.
if you go back, one of the buildings, maybe at the Zen Garden building, they have beautiful sliding door Fusuma doors, and
Okay.
they have beautiful paintings on them of tigers drinking water. So it's called the Tiger Leaping
Oh,
Garden or something.
that must
So
that must be the one at the back, because this one didn't have any murals on it or anything. So
so
yeah,
I will look forward to your next visit, and
okay, yeah,
when you
I'll make
seek
sure
that
to
out.
cover that.
We the just the other day I talked to Divya in Seeking Sustainability 30, and she's an
Okay.
artist. And
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw
one
that.
of the
Yeah.
things she does is she paints the Fusuma sliding doors,
Oh, wow.
and it just she's really into dragons. So
Okay.
she paints these beautiful dragons on the doors, and sometimes in the old houses, like in this building next to the pond, they do have these beautiful murals on the sliding doors, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you go back, please show that. I would love to
I'll
see
do
it.
the other one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
awesome.
Sure.
Also, not just traditional culture, but you sometimes cover cosplay or the zombies.
Yes.
You
Yes.
wanna introduce that a little bit? That looks like fun.
So I've done some cosplay events. I did one in the Tokyo game show. They have that's a huge event, and they have a cosplay area. I filmed that. And in Osaka, they have the Nipponbashi Street Festa in March, which is one of the biggest events in the country, I believe. Not the biggest, but one of the biggest. And it's on the street there in Denden Town, which is a electronic area, and it's a really good day. It's always a great day. People dressed in crazy cosplay costumes. You can get a permit to actually take video and photography, so it's it's not frowned upon at all. So great place to document that event. Great for live streaming, and the people want to be photographed, so they'll play along too, which
Yeah.
is great.
I've been
And then
to some cosplay events and they just ask that you ask them to pose and say, "Can I take your photo?" And then if they say yes, they want to get ready. Like they have all their props and everything, right? I mean,
yeah, their
it's just
presence is really important.
cosplay
Their
respect.
image is important.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
So they're happy for you to take photos and video, but they want to be ready so that they project the image that they want to project. So I respect that.
they're very serious. Yeah,
Yeah, serious. It's not to be taken lightly. I
no,
one time we had a Halloween parties here in Hiroshima, and I wore Princess Leia costume,
okay,
and I had people saying, "Oh, cool costume," but I also had people saying, "That's not a costume for Halloween." Like
really,
serious. That's a
because
you
they
have
want something
you have
elaborate.
you have to be serious about Star Wars.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I was like, sorry, and I'm just having fun, and
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, those are different themes.
that's different. Let's go to
Yeah,
the yeah
Halloween is the other one too. We usually do that one every year in October.
yeah. I just showed that photo, and Paula says Dave is Elvis.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Let's go to you use drones sometimes. I love
Yes.
the drone footage of the tea fields.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you want to
And
introduce that? Wazuka.
there's a place near Nara. I believe it's Nara. I can't even remember. Or maybe Shiga. It's closer to Shiga. And it's called Wazuka, and it's famous for its green tea. And you can basically wander through these fields of green tea, and you're actually allowed to. It's private property, but part of the deal is that you can walk through, and they have posts marking where you can walk, um, and just a stunning scenery, kind of like a valley with the green tea on the sides of the mountains, and a perfect place to drone. Yeah, so you can see the different tea bushes from the top. It's
Yeah,
really beautiful area, and not many tourists because they don't really go out there.
it's
A little bit out of the
gorgeous.
way.
How
Yeah.
is it using a drone in Japan? Do you have any insights on drone footage?
They're quite strict, obviously, and there's you have to follow if you follow the DJI app has a place where you can see where you can drone, where you can't drone. They're quite strict in this area. It's okay. It's outside of the no no flying zone, so you're okay. You do have usually in Japan you do have to go to rural areas. I've broadcast from Wazaka. I did in Fukuoka, the volcano there, Nakadake. Over that, I did that one. So you got to choose rural areas. Urban areas, you have to get a permit, and if you do try and get a permit, it's very, very difficult. So
So for
it's
rural
quite restricted.
areas, you don't need a permit usually, or you just need
Usually
to
you don't.
check
Yeah,
before.
if you're way out there, you're probably okay. But of course, open up your app and it'll tell you if you're in a no-fly zone.
Okay.
But it's only cities, mostly cities, and some maybe a little bit denser communities in the mountains. You can obviously over temples, like if you're up in maybe Koyasan, I don't think you can fly up over there. But if you're in a rural area, open area like a beach, I've done down in what's it called, Kumano the walkway there through Wakayama.
Mm-hmm.
That area was also quite open. You could fly wherever you wanted. So
It's gorgeous. We have some comments going back to the geisha performance. Allison says kabuki actually started as all female many hundreds of years ago, and then it got taken over, and the women were kicked out. Thanks, Allison, for a bit
okay,
of history. And she also says your photos on Instagram are amazing. Do you do photography tours?
no, I don't. I don't know. I actually, well, with the geisha, I actually participate in them, but I don't actually guide them. So
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Allison. Great comments and questions. I love using the drone sometimes, like for rural areas like this. You get the bird's eye view is so gorgeous, just absolutely gorgeous.
yeah,
And you
that
cannot,
shot of the valley there, yeah, the
yeah,
valley
and you
over
just can't
that's
see
Wazuka.
that when you're on the ground, right?
No,
You,
that's Wazuka. There you can see all
mm,
the green tea there lining the mountains there. It's
yeah.
beautiful.
Let's go to your iceberg experience
Okay,
as the we only have 7 minutes left.
okay.
Yeah, you want to tell us about that experience? That's amazing.
Uh, I was in Greenland last year in August for 2 weeks. I was in the capital, Nuuk, for about 4 or 5 days, and I spent most of the time in Ilulissat, which is the tourist area of Greenland, which is north of Nuuk, about 1 hour flight or so on the west coast of Greenland. And the main feature there. Oh, this is Iceland. This is a different one.
Yeah, sorry. I
This is
think this is
Iceland.
Iceland.
Okay, this
Yeah.
is different. This is Iceland. This is
So
Yokusarlin.
you've seen glaciers a few times then. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
this is Yokusarlin in Iceland on the southeastern coast. And you can kind of sail through the icebergs. And this is super old video from like 10 years ago, I think.
Oh, okay. It's
And
beautiful though, and
yeah, it is.
it reminds us that our efforts to use clean energy and to think about our waste and use airplanes less or drive less is worth it because we need to think about the melting ice and you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
you're gonna see less and less. So if this was 10 years ago, there's probably a lot less in this area now, right?
So to bring up Iceland again, the area that I was in Iceland, there's a ice fjord, and the glacier there. They said that from 1902 to 2001, the glacier had receded 9 miles,
Oh my
and
God.
that's in 100 years. But in the past, in 10 years after that, it receded the same amount that it had the previous 100 years.
Aw.
So it's accelerating. And that's something that you saw through the whole town that they were showing. I think they attributed it to global warming, that the glacier was receding very, very quickly and quicker too.
Yeah. When you were up there, did you like see any information or people like scientists trying to study it or people trying to find ways to slow the warming of the ice?
I I didn't meet anybody personally, but in where I was staying, or if you went into any tourist information area, that's what they would show, that kind of information. And any tours I went on, they would mention things about global warming and what we were seeing and how it was a reflection of that.
Yeah, I think in many ways, coronavirus has been very good for the discussion about climate change and global warming because coronavirus is something we can't see, but we know it's dangerous. And in very
Yeah,
similar climate change, something we can't really see. It's kind of, we're getting hints of things, right? But I think
yeah,
in terms of seeing the icebergs and seeing them melt, that's something we can see very clearly. So thank you so much for documenting that. I think that's so important to spread that information around the world. It's not
yeah. And I
Japan,
think,
but I'm so glad you showed that.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, I think too, even with coronavirus, we're also learning how having a sense of urgency globally, and working together to make the situation better is something we've never had before. But we don't have that sense of urgency for global warming, and we should. And this is maybe a wake up call to have that same sense of urgency, because there will be a day where it tips over, and we do feel, uh, it will affect our daily lives even more and more. And we need to have that sense of urgency too with global warming. We need to make as much of a change as quickly as possible.
Definitely. So I think that in summary, because we only have a few more minutes, I think the big
Okay.
takeaways for me, why I'm such a huge fan of your work, is I love how you're showing how modern businesses are supporting traditional Japan through Hard Rock Cafe, through Starbucks, through walking through and observing geisha performances. You're showing us how traditional Japan is still relevant in our modern lives. And we need that. We need that reminder because
Yeah, and I
otherwise
think it's
everything becomes generic, right?
and I think it's even more of a challenge now that tourists are coming in, and uh, like you said, people are leaving maybe because so many tourists are coming in. It's much harder to preserve that culture and authenticity, and not Disneyfying it. I guess some people say Disneyfying it, and keeping it going.
Yeah.
So it's a more urgent issue now.
Yeah. Anything you're planning on covering? Any coming up videos we should watch out for?
While there's nobody here and there's no tourists, I'm gonna be probably moving around the country more. I'm gonna try and go up north to Aomori. Maybe I'm thinking about that, looking at that in some spots up in the north, and it'll be cooler up there too. So it'll
Yeah.
be a good time to do it.
It's
So
getting really hot everywhere, so
yeah.
it's nice to go north if you can. I have a dream of driving my Tesla all the way to Hokkaido and then all the way
Oh,
south to
that would be
Kagoshima.
amazing. That would be amazing.
They have charging areas all over,
Oh,
so
really?
that's a little dream of mine.
All
Maybe,
the way up in Hokkaido too? Like,
yeah. Uh,
wow.
the most northern is Sendai, up in Sendai, I believe so. But they're expanding all the time, so that's a nice network.
That would be
But
amazing.
you travel around by train, which is great as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, it's
I
hard.
love
And
the
now that
trains.
I mean, Japan is a great place to travel. The network of the train
Great
system is
public
amazing.
transport.
So
Yeah,
it's very expensive.
yeah,
I have a lot of gear. That's the only thing, is I have a lot of gear from filming and everything. So I
yeah.
wish I did have a nice car like you did. I could drive around.
Well, maybe we can collaborate. I'll pick you up in Osaka and we'll head north.
Maybe we could do it. Yeah, it would make life a lot easier. Yeah, with all this gear now. So
Yeah. Well, what kind of gear do you have? I want to know. Like, what
Uh,
is all your gear? Like
well,
lights,
the
batteries?
drone, yeah, my drone, all the batteries. I have two drones, and my camera, all the lenses, gimbals, my computer. Obviously photo editing, so I bring my computer with me. Uh, my tripod. Uh, what else? My phones, my extra batteries. So all that in a suitcase.
Yeah.
I gotta wear clothes too and stuff like that. So I gotta fit that
And
in
it's
between my
nice.
gear.
It's nice to have a change of clothes every now and again too,
Yes,
right?
right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, thank you
So
so much for talking today, Dave, and for all the great footage that you're showing Japan in the authentic, important, real way for not only visitors, but for people around the world who are interested in Japan and Japanese culture.
thanks
So
very much.
thank you for
Appreciate it.
everything. Yeah, thanks for joining. And maybe we can have you back in a few months. You can tell us
Sure,
some of your new adventures.
I'd love to. That'd be great.
And please
Thanks everybody for
take
watching.
care of little Bo as well.
Sleeping right now in the tower, so he's fine.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for all your questions and comments, especially from Periscope. We had a really great group from Periscope. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Barb. My mom was watching,
Oh, thanks,
and
Mom.
Jorge, Melly,
Sherry,
Happy Iron
Gal,
Girl, Cheryl, and who's this? I can't see the
Tim,
person tapping. Tapping.
Allison, Paula,
Shirley. Shirley.
Shirley, Warren. We had so many great people join us today. Thank you. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., we have Paprika Girl talking about summer kimono and yukata. And 5 p.m. tomorrow, we are talking with a tour guide, travel agent. So please join us. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you,
Thank
everybody,
you.
for joining. Have a good day. Stay safe.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye
Bye.
bye.